Welcome to Imds International Material Data System Basics. The Imds International Material Data System is the automobile industry's material data system. Imds has become a global standard used by almost all of the global OEMs. In Imds, all materials used for automobile manufacturing are collected, maintained, analyzed and archived. Using the Imds, it is possible to meet the obligations placed on automobile manufacturers, and thus on their suppliers, by national and international standards, laws and regulations. Imds equals International Material Data System, a worldwide system which captures all materials, substances as well as their respective quantities as used in the automotive industry. A login is required to access the confidential data areas. Imds models the composition of an automobile as a tree-like structure as shown in this figure, with the following representations. Leaves represent basic substances. Twigs represent materials. Small branches represent components. Branches represent smaller assemblies. Main branches represent main assemblies. Trunk represents final products, vehicles. Here is the Imds standard flow material maker to supple a Tier 2 to Tier 1 to OEM original equipment manufacturer. What is mean by material and basic substance? A material normally consists of basic substances only. The total of all basic substances must be 100%. A material must be described in the state which it has in the finished component. A basic substance should always be attached to a material. It is not allowed to attach a basic substance to a component or semi-component. A component is a complete assembly or a component that builds up a complete part. A component must have at least one material. A subcomponent on a lower level is usually called a subcomponent. When used, it must have at least one material associated to it. The subcomponent must be descriptive. The total weight of the material under subcomponent must equal the total subcomponent weight. A semi-component is described by the same symbol as a component. A semi-component is not the same thing as a subcomponent within a part. It is a semi-finished product. There must be at least one material attached to a semi-component. Let us understand the configuration of datasheet. Report the materials of all the component parts. Break down to the level of chemical substances. Compliance with the regulations for recycling is checked. Compliance with the regulations related to chemical substances is checked. Among the parts and materials that are subject to the investigation, the ones that have been investigated before shall not be re-investigated. When all the following conditions are met, the relevant data is regarded as a candidate for effective data. 1. Part number plus suffix are indicated in the investigation history. 2. The company who is requested to investigate is the same as before. 3. The data has been approved by the report recipient or your company. 4. When the data has MISC, it must be the data from the investigation that was implemented within 3 years. 5. The data does not have MISC. Supplier data review. In order to attach a supplier MDS, the datasheet must be accepted first. To review incoming datasheets, hover over the Inbox icon on the top ribbon and select the MDS icon. The inbox will appear and you can search by general MDS information, date, in the left box, status of the MDS, in the center box, and specific suppliers, in the right box. Once you enter the search criteria, click the Search button and the results will appear in the lower portion of the window. Supplier data review. In order to review the specific MDS, right-click on the MDS listing and select the Check icon. This will open the MDS for review and also check for rule errors and warnings. You can now determine if the MDS meets design criteria and customer internal Imds acceptance criteria. Once the review is complete, return to the inbox, right-click on the MDS and select the Accept or Reject icon. If the MDS is rejected, a dialog box with system errors, warnings listed will appear. User rejection reasons can manually be entered as well. Creating a new datasheet, hover over the File icon in the top ribbon and then the Datasheet icon and select the type of datasheet you would like to create. Once selected, the new MDS box will appear. Adding a material datasheet. Right-click on the node you want to add an MDS to, hover over the Add icon and select the type of MDS you want to add. Recyclate information may be entered for material MDSs of classification 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7.1 and 7.2 being referenced in a semi-component or component. Post-industrial recyclate is recycled content from industry. Post-consumer recyclate is recycled content from consumer waste. Please check the customer requirements as the input method of recycled materials may differ depending on the customer. Adding a component reference. Right-click on the node you want to add an MDS to, hover over the Add icon, hover over the Component icon and select the Reference icon. The Component MDS search box will appear. Adding a semi-component reference. Right-click on the node you want to add an MDS to, hover over the Add icon, hover over the Semi-component icon and select the Reference icon. The semi-component MDS search box will appear. Adding a material reference. Right-click on the node you want to add an MDS to, hover over the Add icon and select the Material icon. The Material MDS search box will appear. Adding own company's information, contact info, to MDS. Click the Supplier Data tab to select company and contact person. Select the correct contact person from the drop-down menu for the MDS. Supplier data is now complete. Adding customer information to MDS. Click the Recipient Data tab to enter recipient information for the MDS. Select Add Recipient icon to search for the proper recipient. Enter the proper recipient data into the search dialog box and search. Having the recipient company ID is the best search criteria to ensure choosing the correct recipient. Select the correct recipient and click the Apply icon. Adding information, part number, ECI hash, etc. Once the recipient search data is applied, recipient details box on the right side of the screen appears. You can now enter the recipient supplier code, name, part number, etc. You can also modify the application codes, material norms, parts marking and recyclate information for OE customers in this section as well. You can now click the Propose icon on the top of the screen. Intended use of IMDS, collecting the data for the automobile manufacturer to apply for vehicle authentication. Incorrect data have a risk of authentication, statutory violation. Important points: 1. The compositional data that is obtained from the supplier according to the supply chain shall be used. 2. Undisclosed information shall not be more than 10%. Note that the substances listed in the GADSL must not be included in the undisclosed information. 3. Only the chemical substances contained in the final products, on-vehicle products, and compositions of the component parts shall be reported. To download manual for IMDS, please follow the link https://public.mfdssystem.com/n/web/imds-public-pages. Thank you for listening to us.